Hey, I'm Jamey Ice, Fort Worth native, musician turned entrepreneur, and someone who loves diving into the stories behind great brands. In each episode, we sit down with the leaders, dreamers, and builders who are shaping our community, pulling back the curtain on their journey and the real lessons and tactics that got them to where they are today. No fluff, no highlight reels, just real conversations with remarkable people about what it takes to build something that truly matters. I'm your host, and this is Stories with Soul. All right, welcome to Stories with Soul. I'm excited for today because it is a friend. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Travis Patterson. And I wrote this bio last night. I've done a few versions of your bio, but I'm excited. This is a mini one.
Let's go.
Travis is a true Fort Worth success story and one of the most dynamic figures in personal injury law. Born and raised in Arlington, Travis has built Patterson Law Firm into one of Tarrant County's largest personal injury firms. He has a team of 10 lawyers across 3 locations and has secured landmark victories, including one of the top 50 reported personal injury settlements nationwide in 2023. As a recognized entrepreneur of excellence and 40 under 40 recipient, Travis is deeply committed to community impact. He speaks to thousands of high school students about distracted driving, which I'm excited to kind of dive into that more. He's the host of the Driving Change podcast, which is new and exciting and awesome. And we're going to get into some of that.
Yeah, let's go.
We're going to talk about the podcast on this podcast. And he is also serves as the co-founder of the Mental Health for Heroes. He also shapes future legal minds as an adjunct professor for Texas A&M School of Law. And at home, Travis enjoys life with his wife, Anna, and their 4 kids on their 10 acres living in the country life. So I'm excited to dive into his story and learn about how he's reshaping personal injury law. Travis, welcome to the podcast.
Dude, thanks for having me. It was funny when you thank you for the bio. I sound busy when you lay it all out there.
You're pretty busy.
Yeah, you kind of realize why I'm so tired all the time. You said the most dynamic figure, and then you put a qualifier at the end. In personal injury. Like, okay, let's just lower the bars.
In all of life. Personal injury.
Of all the personal injury lawyers.
You can claim that space.
Yeah.
In Fort Worth, you're like the king of personal injury.
I don't know about that, but we're doing our best.
Yeah, you're doing okay. So let's dive into. So we're gonna get into all the things you built and are doing, but let's dive into your background. You're from Arlington.
Yep.
Went to Martin.
Mm-hmm.
But walk me through sort of your dad and your grandpa, because you come from a family that's very involved.
Yeah. So my grandpa, Harold Patterson, was actually the mayor of Arlington back when I was born. I think he was the mayor in the mid 80s. He was on city council under Tom Vandergriff for like 26 years before that.
And Vandergriff is like the Rangers, the guy from brought the Rangers to Arlington.
And we named the courthouse in Fort Worth after him. Mm-hmm. Just an amazing guy. So my pawpaw was, my hero. He was just the best. We lost him when I was in college. But then Dad also became he was on the school board. He was on the Planning and Zoning Commission, stuff like that. And then he shut that down. But yeah, just kind of come from a family of just kind of community service. And your
dad is a lawyer.
He sure is. Yeah, he's one of my partners.
And so you were like, I want to get into law as a kid.
Yeah.
I want to do what my dad does.
Yeah. I always knew I wanted. It's like McConaughey. Did you read his book? He's like, I always knew I wanted to be a dad, and so that was kind of me. I always knew I wanted to have kids, and I wanted to be a lawyer. Like I knew that out of the gate. I didn't even think of anything else. I knew I wanted to go to the University of Texas. I didn't apply anywhere else. But yeah, I just knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I had no idea what lawyers really did. Mm-hmm. My dad, it was funny. Growing up, he was like, son, I've never lost a trial. So I grew up thinking he was like the greatest lawyer ever. Uh-huh. And then you realize that his main thing is real estate law. It's like he never went to trial.
He doesn't go to
trial. Even in the personal injury firm that he had started, that was more of a pre-litigation shop before I got there. And so he didn't try cases, but, you kind of just grew up, wanting to be like your dad, wanting to be a lawyer. I was always getting in arguments with people and that sort of thing. This is a little bit of an unfair podcast because we're friends and I've taken a few dives into your story, but you're inquisitive and kind of contrarian
by nature.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I just
You ask why.
I ask why a lot, probably too much, but I don't like things that are arbitrary. Like I have a real problem with that. It's I worked at a firm when I first started as a lawyer, and it was one of these big firms with hundreds, probably thousands of lawyers, all of which essentially were my bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were rules out the wazoo. You got to wear a suit and tie, even if you're just sitting in front of your computer all day. You got to show up at this time and leave it. It's all arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't work well in those environments.
Yeah,
obviously.
So did you in school? In school, did you get in trouble?
I mean, I was
with authority.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like a rebel or anything like that, but I remember, and you and I have talked about this before. I remember being in like geometry class and math class, and I'd get in trouble there because I would try to figure out a way to solve problems more efficiently than the teacher would. Teacher said, you got to do it in these 4 steps. And I'm like, well, we can do it in 3 steps if we go this way. You need to stop. You need to stop getting in my way, Travis. Like, just be quiet.
Yeah. So always a little inquisitive, a little pushing back against things that are arbitrary or wrong.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Said I want to do law. Went to UT for law school.
UT undergrad, UT for law school.
Yeah.
So 7 years in Austin, which is great.
Die-hard Longhorns.
Yes, it's a good time to be a Longhorn. Finally, it's been a rough stretch for like the lives of my children. But yeah, I'm going to Austin tomorrow morning for their last home game of the season, taking my boys.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's fun. So how did you get into personal injury? Because you are, I think one of the fun things about you is you are very outspoken about, safety, distracted driving. Yeah. I feel like you've learned a lot of things, and so you've been really good about sharing those. You've kind of built this platform of speaking into that world. I think you speak into that world because you have probably seen a lot of
gnarly stuff.
A lot of gnarly stuff in the personal injury space. So walk me through how you got into that sort of world.
So I started in commercial litigation, so it was just businesses suing each other over breaches of contract or stuff like that. And it was hard to be passionate about that. At that first firm, the clients were huge, and so I didn't even know what the cases were about. I was just told, like, go do this task and come back when it's done. When I went to the next firm, which was a smaller Fort Worth firm called Shannon Gracie, which was awesome. It's no longer with us, but that's a different story. I got to do, it was still business litigation, but it was like for smaller mom and pop kind of businesses. And so you kind of got to know the people involved in these businesses and the disputes. And very quickly I realized, like, it's way more fun when you get to know the people and the clients and represent them. And then I went out on my own. My dad had this firm that did pre-litigation personal injury, pretty much only at that point, which means, like, so if someone gets in a car accident, we can negotiate settlements on their behalf, talk to the insurance companies, kind of deal with the property damage and take care of them. And if a lawsuit had to get filed, they would send it over to a different litigation firm. The story is kind of nuanced, but I quickly realized that, hey, I like representing people, and there's people over here that need good representation. My dad's firm is referring these cases out to different people. We can kind of form Patterson Law Group, and there were some steps along the way here. But yeah, I just fell in love with representing people, and in the personal injury world. I never really thought about it in law school because you kind of just, people have a bad taste in their mouth when they hear about personal injury lawyers.
Yeah, the billboard lawyers.
Yeah, that whole thing, the ambulance chaser kind of vibe. But once I got into it, it's the complete opposite. These are good people. Something terrible just happened to them.
Good people, not the lawyers, but the people.
There's good lawyers too. I mean, God, you're gonna make all my friends start, hating me.
Yeah.
No, there's great personal injury lawyers out
there's
there.
good people, and the folks who are, stuff happens to them, and
yeah, you're just at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you need good representation. And if you can get somebody through that journey and get them to the other side, it's just very rewarding.
Versus negotiating just like a business contract or suing someone. Or
and businesses need good lawyers too, and there's honor and all in that. But I just I was never passionate about that.
Stories with Soul is brought to you by my company, 6F Storytelling, where we help entrepreneurs and small businesses grow through the power of storytelling. If you're stuck watching competitors get all the attention, or you're tired of wasting money on random marketing tactics that don't work, you're not alone. As an entrepreneur who's built multiple businesses, I know firsthand how frustrating it can be to have a great product or have a great service, but struggle to get the attention you deserve. Because here's the truth. Being good at what you do isn't enough anymore. You need a way to stand out and connect with your ideal customers. That's why we created the Storytelling Pathway, a proven framework for story-driven marketing that turns solid businesses into brands people can't stop talking about. So whether you're just starting out or if you're ready to scale, we can help you craft and share your unique story in a way that attracts the right customers and drives real growth. So if you're ready to stand out, visit 6avstorytelling.com today. I would love to chat with you. So you kind of got involved with this because of your dad, and then realized like it lit you up. It stirred something in you.
Yeah, I was like, there's something here. Because remember, it was just pre-litigation only. I had been doing litigation for 2 years at that point, and I was real like naive, and I thought I had it all figured out. It's like, I can file all these lawsuits. I can represent people in court. I can do the depositions. I can take all the discovery. I'm ready to go. So I kind of just jump in head first. And then the smartest thing I did was quickly realize that I cannot do this by myself.
Okay.
And I brought in people, started hiring good lawyers to help me. I said, hey, I think we have a really good business model here. I think we have potential. You know, are you willing to bet on yourself? Are you willing to place a bet on me? And let's go build something together. You know, Greg McCarthy was my first hire, a lifelong friend of mine, and older than me. He had done some personal injury work before, and he was doing different things. He's kind of a Renaissance man. He's kind of like you, kind of just always up to something different. So he came in and helped me out, and then he went off to do some other stuff. Then I hired Tennessee Walker, who, you know, best lawyer I've ever been around, and I get to be with him every day, which is amazing.
And were they both of them doing personal injury stuff?
No.
At the time?
Greg at the time he was writing books and brewing beer and doing all sorts of fun stuff. I don't know what all he was doing at that point in time. Tennessee was a commercial litigator, did a lot of oil and gas litigation too. He worked at Harris Finley here in Fort Worth, which is a great firm. This is a long story, but he actually represented my dad in a dispute that had come up. And so I worked with Tennessee a lot on that case, helping my dad, and I got to know him, and he got to know us in this firm really well. So after that wrapped up, I came to him and I said, hey, what do you think about coming on board with us? Because I need some help, and you're an amazing lawyer, an amazing person. We like spending time together. And he took me up on it. Put a little deal together on a little napkin, and that's it.
And so y'all kind of jumping into this world of personal injury. Like, yeah, we're going to help people. We're going to do it.
Yeah, I'd been doing it for like 6 months. And so, I told Tennessee I have it all figured out, and I can just show you what I've learned. And of course I didn't. And Tennessee is just a brilliant lawyer, and helped me just kind of took PLG to the next level.
Mm-hmm. And then unpack kind of what that, like what it is, like the world of personal injury, like what it is you're doing. It's car wrecks is kind of what you think of first comes to mind.
That's a big chunk of it is car accidents. There's slip and falls. There's a lot of different ways people end up getting hurt. I did a podcast the other day on trampoline parks. Kids get hurt there. There's medical malpractice. There's products liability when something you buy blows up in your house or something. So there's all sorts of niches in personal injury. But yeah, the big part of personal injury is car accidents, truck accidents, stuff like that.
And so you have seen some kind of crazy stuff, some sad situations, some hard situations.
Yeah, it's really bad.
And so I think one of the things I think is interesting about you is you kind of have this question authority, ask why, if it's arbitrary, you're going to poke at it a little bit. But then you care a lot about safety. And you and I have pretty similar personalities. We're on Culture Index. We're both philosophers, and philosophers kind of question. And so I am admittedly, safety is very low on my radar. It's not something I like.
Don't put that on your bumper sticker.
Well, yeah, I shouldn't. It's not something I think about a lot.
Right.
I'm kind of, going to jump in and just go for it. So I think this like concept of safety and like it's probably not natural to how you, as someone who kind of probably bucks the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
But because of your proximity to having seen some wild.
Yeah, it's opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Yeah, I mean, growing up, it was pretty wild. I mean, we were jumping off trampolines into pools. We were flying off of docks with, we were doing dangerous stuff all the time. On a snow day, back when we used to have snow days in Texas, we would get the mule out and pull each other around with a ski rope on the back of a mule. I mean, I don't know how we got out of there alive.
Yeah.
But then doing what I do for a living. And, I think part of it too is having kids. And, I'm doing all this with my wife, which is, really the best part about all of it is, Anna's she's my law partner, obviously my partner in life. And so this kind of safety stuff just kind of came from our experiences representing people and raising kids. And you learn stuff. And it's like, okay, we got to tell people about it. Like, parents need to know this. Like, parents need to know the risk involved if you go to a trampoline park, or parents need to know, how are we going to stop our high school kids from driving distracted? Okay, like we see that stuff all the time, and so you just kind of you have a duty to kind of go and try to help people.
Well, can you get a little more tactical on some, like, what are some of those things that like your eyes opened and you're like, I care a lot about this now?
So distracted driving is a big one because we literally, like, this isn't hyperbole, like every day we will see a new case come in the door and it was caused by some form of distraction.
And by distraction, you mean phones?
Primarily, yeah.
Like people texting or watching.
Yeah, you could argue, cognitive distraction, but yeah, it's typically people looking at their phones. I mean, you see it every day on the highway.
Was that a thing 15 years ago?
No, I don't think we had phones 15 years ago. So we've had drunk driving forever. The thing, though, is drunk driving, it spikes at night. It spikes on the weekends. Like
2 a.m., your chances are much higher than 4 p.m.
I would say 80% of the drunk driving accidents are after midnight on Friday and Saturday night,
yeah,
or on a big holiday. Distracted driving, though, it's all day, and so that's what really irks me is like we need to protect. My kids are on the road during the day. They're on the road in the morning and after school, going to practice. We're not really on the road at night very often, especially after midnight. But it's like, all right, how do I protect my kids? We got to stop the distracted driving, and we can do that, through education and getting the word out and all these kinds of things that we're doing.
So how much of your cases involve that?
A distracted driver?
Yeah.
Of the car accidents, I would say probably half. The person doesn't always like come out and say, "Oh, I was staring at my phone," and so you kind of just say, "Well, what else explains this accident? Like, what were you doing? You weren't trying to run into the back of my person at the stop sign."
Yeah.
So yeah, it really all comes down to either distracted driving, drunk driving, or just reckless driving. So speeding. So I tell people, like, if you can stay off your phone, stay off the booze, and go easy on the throttle, chances are you're gonna be okay out there.
Do you think the phone, do you think we'll look back 5 or 10 years from now and think of phones in cars in the way we think of like drinking a beer in a car? Or like cigarettes. It's like everyone used to smoke cigarettes and now you don't see anybody smoking cigarettes.
Teenagers today, Jamey, are more likely to be killed by a distracted driver than a drunk driver. Like the distracted driving is just becoming ubiquitous. So yeah, I certainly hope that in 5 years we look back and say, I'm glad we got a handle on that problem. I'm concerned, because people, especially in Texas, like people don't like Big Brother telling them what to do. Like that's the last thing they want is the government saying, I can and can't do this. That's why we no longer have red light cameras, because people say, I don't want Big Brother telling me what to do.
Yeah.
It's like, well, red light cameras, in theory, it's a good idea, right? It's going to stop people from running red lights. It's going to increase safety. Same thing with cell phones. Like we could pass laws to make cell phone, distracted driving a way harsher penalty. I mean, it is illegal. We do have that on the books. But it's like $100 fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people don't even care. People don't know, and so they just do it.
Yeah. Was there a moment where you were like, I don't know, you got angry or you got passionate or like a particular case or a situation?
I think it's when I met Joel Feldman. I mean, there's plenty of cases. I can think of one. Just, this nice guy just got slammed into. Guy was texting. Very simple case, and just destroyed his back. And it's like this is just not fair. But meeting Joel kind of changed things for me. So Joel Feldman is a lawyer in Philadelphia, and and he's a trial lawyer, personal injury lawyer, just like I am. And his own daughter was killed by a distracted driver. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of, took a left turn with his career and kind of shut down his practice. He's still a practicing, lawyer, but what he does now is he started this organization called End Distracted Driving. An incredible guy. He's talked to 500,000 high school kids across the country on distracted driving, and he just doesn't stop. Like I could call him today and say, "Hey, can you be in Texas next week for 2 high schools or whatever?" And he would make it happen. He's just on a mission to end this thing, and so he really inspired me. And so I connected with him, and I said, "Hey, how can I help you? Because I'm seeing this all over the place in Texas, and he's in Philly, he can't be everywhere. It's like, can I do these presentations for you in Texas?" And so that's when I partnered up with him and started going into the high schools to speak to kids about distracted driving, and that's been incredible.
And so you're literally going around to different high schools and
the ones that'll have me, yeah.
The ones that'll have you, and you've done a lot of that this past year, right?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple thousand high school students so far, private schools, public schools.
And what's your like? What is your pitch on that?
The pitch is basically that.
I know people are like inherently, I probably shouldn't do this, but for some reason they still do it. Like, what kind of connects the dots? Or do you think they literally don't know? Like, do you think they?
I think they don't know. I mean, I think now they get a little bit of it in driver's
ed. And by they, I mean also like us, like because grown-ups too.
Yeah, I mean, grown-ups are always in these presentations, like the teachers and the administrators, and they'll come up to me afterwards and like, yeah, I admit that I do this too. Because it's kind of funny. One of the parts of the presentation, I'm like, hey, this is circle of trust stuff here, guys. Like, raise your hand if your parents drive you around in your car while they look at their phones. Mm-hmm. And almost all of them raise their hand. And so we have a long way to go with education. Yeah. But I think what gets to the students the most is, like you always preach the power of stories, right? Mm-hmm. So in this presentation, there are 2 or 3 really powerful stories of, lives destroyed by distracted driving. So that really moves the needle with them. And then just the other part is like, look, guys, I'm not here to yell at you. I'm not here to preach at you. I'm here to tell you there's never been a more dangerous time to get your driver's license. Mm-hmm. Because everyone else on the roads is driving distracted. And so the reason you can't drive distracted is because they are driving distracted, and they are going to drift into your lane. They are going to run that stop sign, and you have a chance to stop it. You have a chance to prevent that accident from happening. You have a chance to save your life. You have a chance to save your buddies' lives in the car. And that, to me, is important for them. It's like you've got to have this hyper state of vigilance all day. It's morning, noon, and night now, this distracted driving. And so talking to them in that way, I think helps. We poll these kids, and like 92% of them say they are not going to drive distracted anymore after seeing this presentation. And so, the challenge now is just getting more schools to have me in. It's completely free. It takes like 50 minutes, just an assembly, and we're in and we're out, and it's awesome. Some schools do Shattered Dreams. Did you have that program at your high school?
Nah, I mean, not that I remember.
Where did you go? Were you Pascal?
I went to Pascal.
So yeah, I went to Martin, and we had this program called Shattered Dreams, where they come out and they stage this car accident.
Like bring a car in.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures of
the
that.
fire trucks come screeching down the street with the sirens, and like they get kids from the acting, from the theater club, and they're pretending like they're either dead or screaming, and it's very powerful. But that was a drunk driving thing back when I was in high school. That's now, I think they've added distracted driving into that presentation. And so the schools that do Shattered Dreams, that's great. Like I can come into those schools. I don't have to, but a lot of schools don't do anything. It's like, we gotta work on this.
Hey, I'm interrupting this episode because I want to share something with you that I'm really excited about. One of my biggest missions in life is to make entrepreneurship easier than it was for me. After spending over a decade building multiple businesses, I've learned some hard lessons, often the expensive way. And here's the thing, I see so many talented entrepreneurs struggling with the exact same challenges that I faced. They've got great products, they've got great services, but they're stuck trying to figure out how to stand out and how to grow. They're wasting time and money on random marketing tactics, they're watching competitors get all the attention, and they're feeling overwhelmed about what to focus on next. That's exactly why my team and I just created 2 incredible free resources that I genuinely wish I had when I was starting out. The first is our storytelling marketing assessment. In just 5 minutes, it'll show you exactly where your marketing stands today and give you a clear roadmap of what to work on next. No more guessing, no more wasting time on strategies that don't work. And the second is our complete storytelling pathway framework. This is the exact system that we've used to help hundreds of businesses grow through the power of story. This isn't just a theory, it's a practical, proven framework that shows you step by step how to turn your business into a brand people can't stop talking about. I'm giving both of these away completely for free because I truly believe that when local businesses thrive, our whole community thrives. This isn't about making a quick buck. It's about sharing what works and helping other entrepreneurs succeed. You can get both resources right now at 6thAvestorytelling.com/free. I promise you these are absolute game changers. They're going to help you get clear on exactly what you need to do to grow your business and give you the roadmap to make it happen. Don't miss out on these. Head over to 6thAvestorytelling.com/free and grab them now. All right, back to our conversation.
So my goal, there's 16 high schools in Fort Worth. The public high schools. I'm trying to get into
Trying to get in all of them.
Trying to get in all of
them. So if you are listening to this, and
call me.
You have high school kids, call the school to call Travis. But I also think just being in proximity to things changes your perspective. Melissa, my wife with the net, talks a lot about when you're in proximity to people who are hurting and they become real, it just changes. It's easy to not care when you're not close to it.
It's this will never happen to me bias is kind of what we call that. And so
but then having stories. Even like at my kids' school, there was a family that 2 kids, the dad, a year ago, like this week. It just it rocks your world.
What happened to him?
They were in a wreck driving home or from Thanksgiving. Someone hit them head on.
Right.
My assumption it was probably distracted driving.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. The McElroy family.
Yeah.
Just
terrible.
Just completely rocked our community and our
just totally.
2 elementary school kids, just so sad. But that proximity kind of changes your perspective on things. And even like my this wasn't distracted, but one of my mentors in high school, he died in a car accident, didn't have a seatbelt on, and it's it just I am so kind of psycho about seatbelts
because of that.
My kids because of that, because it's it just changes. Yeah. It's something that shouldn't happen, and
seatbelts are the other kind of pet peeve of mine. We include that in the presentation. I think it's 52% of teenagers that die in car accidents weren't wearing seatbelts.
Yeah.
So if we can just buckle up, we've just cut the chances in half.
Yeah.
Of someone dying.
Because my kids the other day were my JJ was like, "Daddy, is driving fun?" And I was like, "It is fun. You can go wherever you want to go."
Yeah.
But I was like, "But it's also, it's a little scary. It's serious."
So, do you drive distracted, Jamey?
Anymore? I would say honestly, since getting to know you more, I have tried less to do that.
That's great.
So I don't want to say.
Do you remember that time I called you out?
Yeah, you did call me. I did an Instagram. I do these Instagram videos where I on the drive to school every morning. I introduce my kids to music or song or something. We'll have like a band or artist of the week. This week I was playing Madonna.
Okay.
Which is kind of fun. And I would film their reaction, but I was doing it while driving. And you were like, what are you doing?
Dude, like, yeah. And we were like working on stuff together at that point. I'm like, do you remember what we talked about, Jamey?
Yeah. But I think there's that disconnect of like, oh, I got this. It doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, like that's the thing we were talking about. Like that's the problem. Yeah, we've had a lot of cases where people were taking videos of themselves when they
no way
truck drivers, 18-wheelers.
Truck drivers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're posting this stuff on Facebook. Like, it's not hard to find this stuff.
Are there practical things like how like I'm a fan of like setting up systems and habits and things that make it harder to do the thing. For instance, like if I have potato chips in my house late at night,
you're going to town.
I'm gonna eat the potato.
Yeah.
And so, even with social media and email, like I will literally delete Instagram and Facebook off my phone constantly because I'm like, I feel myself wanting to check it. So I delete it so it's gone and harder. But are there like practical things?
Yeah. I mean, all phones nowadays have settings to turn on so that your phone will just stop dinging while you're driving. Mm-hmm. It'll stop tempting you. I don't know. I'm this close to just throwing my smartphone away. I'm so tired of all the dinging. Anyway, so I might go back to like a brick.
Your life would be so much better.
I know.
I think about that a lot.
Like, I wonder if there's oh crap, I forgot that the phone allows me to do X, Y, and Z, and I need that.
Yeah, like maps and having a camera.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm thinking about, getting a new phone, an old phone, and only giving like my wife and my kids' school the phone number. And everyone else can just like call the office and leave a message or something.
You would be so much happier.
We should do it. Let's both do it. An experiment.
I would do it. I feel like, granted, so much of my life is like contingent on, sharing and building telling stories. So I'm like, I would need a phone or the equivalent for like when I have to go into that world. But if I could, and I kind of do that. Like I used to, like I said, I'll delete my Instagram and Facebook sometimes, but I used to have a thing where there's like a what's it called? Screen time has a setting where you can block certain apps at certain times.
Okay.
And so I had mine where it turned off Safari, email, Facebook, Instagram, and a couple other things at 5 p.m. And my wife had the code.
Okay.
And it didn't come back on until 8:30 a.m. And I did for probably like 2 years. I had that set up, and so like I could not access, and it made my life so much better.
I know. Let's try something. Let's do some experiments.
We should do that. We should do an update. There are some dummy phones.
I kind of see them. I think they're making a comeback. If I was a high school kid right now, that's something I think about a lot. Is I don't just do personal injury stuff. I like to think about what other issues are going on and what can we do to fix it. That's why, our podcast is, we don't just talk about car accidents, but just kids today having cell phones and social media and front-facing cameras. And I just think it's a terrible
anxiety
recipe.
It produces. And the dopamine, I need to check it all the time.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I do when I wake up. It's the last thing I do before I go to bed.
It's crushing their mental health. It's crushing their academic performance. I mean, the data on that is clear. You can see these test scores. There's this global company called, I forgot, GIPA or something like that. And they test 15-year-olds across the globe, and they do this every year, and they've been doing it for a long time. Starting in like 2010 to 2015, you have cell phones and social media. The scores just start plummeting. It's not like COVID is what caused it. This was prior to COVID. The stuff was already declining. And so I actually met with a school yesterday to talk about it. Like, what do we do about this? Mm-hmm. But anyway,
and the mental health side of it.
And the mental health thing is huge. Yeah. And it especially impacts young girls, which, we both have a daughter, or you have two, I have one, but by the time our girls are in high school, I just can't imagine them, with phones and social media. It scares the hell out of me. And plus, all the stuff that Melissa works on and the bad stories you hear about. All that scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot your question, but that's
well, we were just talking about what it does. Okay, but and even like I am a 40-year-old, mature human dad, grown up, and I feel the anxiety that comes from that.
Yeah.
Like when I am in like a scrolling, looking at it, like when I'm looking at social media so much, I don't feel good. And there's been times where like I've gone on vacation or something, and I just feel anxious, and I'm like, God, I gotta delete.
Yeah.
I gotta go delete some apps. I gotta delete some things because of like you don't get clarity, you don't get bored, you don't get creative, you don't get to think.
It's not good for anything.
It's not. There's this dopamine addiction.
Yeah, and then you're just getting sold stuff through ads that are targeted to you. I like what Taylor, our friend Taylor Dukes, she puts her phone on airplane mode when she goes on vacation with Ryan and loves it.
Yeah. I feel like I need more than airplane mode. I need to they got to be gone, or I need like a
Let's go get new phones. Let's go.
We should do that. Okay, I think we should totally do that.
It would keep our road. I mean, if we all went back to dumb phones, it would make our roads so much safer.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm. And so that's so one, you're speaking about it. Mm-hmm. You're going out and advocating and speaking about it. Mm-hmm. And then part of the reason you launched Driving Change, the podcast.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and sort of the goals and objectives there.
Yeah, I just I have a curious nature, and I like meeting new people that are doing cool things. So I interviewed. We just shot our first episode a couple days ago right here. I got to sit in that couch, but it was a virtual deal. So I had a lawyer from New Jersey piped in named David Chazen, who's a trampoline park expert. And he's forgotten more about trampoline park injuries and all that than I'll ever know. But yeah, I put out this video a couple of months, maybe it was about a year ago, because we just talked about how social media is so terrible, but I have to use it to market.
Yeah, it's part of your job.
Market myself.
It's kind of this necessary evil.
Yeah.
Like so much of my business success comes from me sharing my story.
And we don't do advertising, we don't do billboards and jingles and commercials and stuff, and so we have to do creative stuff on social media to get our message out. So like a year ago, I put out a thing. It took 5 minutes. Basically, just here are the 3 reasons why I don't take my kids to trampoline parks. And it went nuts.
Yeah, I remember kept seeing it on my feed.
It's just sparked.
And half of it were like, this guy's a buzzkill.
Yeah,
and half of it were like,
this guy is such a Karen. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
But then people were like, it was kind of.
The other half, the people were like, this is amazing. I don't go either. And I know of all these boys.
My kids have multiple friends who have like broken bones.
Yes.
At trampoline parks.
Yeah, and so, yeah.
I have almost broken my bones at the trampoline park.
And so I asked that question to David. I'm like, okay, there's an inherent, because the argument is, well, we all know trampolines are dangerous, but it's better than our kids sitting and playing on iPads all day. And so, yeah, I get that, but you just don't know just how dangerous those places are. So I asked David, who has litigated hundreds of these cases, what can a parent do if you're like, I'm going to go to the trampoline park? What can a parent do to make it as safe as possible? Mm-hmm. He's like, nothing. You can't. It's just in the way that things are built and designed. It's, we let our kids ride bikes. We let our kids go swimming. We let our kids go skiing. But, those are all have some level of danger to them. But David's point is like, yeah, but you do it in baby steps, right? Mm-hmm. You start with training wheels. You wear helmets. You don't go on busy streets. Like, you mitigate those dangers. Same with skiing. You don't just go down the double black diamond without a helmet. But anyway, so we talked about that. But we're going to talk about cell phones in high schools with experts on that. We're going to talk about fentanyl crisis with an expert in that. I'd love to talk to Melissa about what she's doing, talking to Taylor Dukes about what's going on in the food industry.
And the whole idea is you're kind of coming at these topics from a legal perspective, from things that
from a legal perspective, and from just my perspective as a business owner, my perspective as a dad, just someone who thinks about this kind of stuff a lot. So yeah, the topics are going to be kind of all over the place, which will be fun for me. I don't like doing the same thing every day. It drives me crazy. Yeah. I know you're like that too. So we're just going to go explore stuff. Football helmets. We're talking about football helmets in a couple weeks.
Okay.
With a guy who sued Rydell, the football helmet
maker.
The helmet maker. There was a big class action against Rydell. It's been going on for a long time. So we're going to talk about football helmets and like options if your kid's going to play football. what are my options? Can I make the helmet safer?
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing.
Interesting and fun. Driving Change podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Find it on
Shot right here.
It is shot right
That's
here.
6th Ave.
Let's go back. I want to kind of revisit Patterson Law Group.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things I love about you and I love about what you guys are doing is it feels very different.
Yeah.
Specifically, like the times I've been over there, and you've helped a handful of my friends who have had accidents and different things. But I remember like one of the first times I went over there to your office, to the firm, and you're wearing like shorts. You and Tennessee, who's your other one of your head lawyers, are both wearing like shorts and just a short sleeve shirt. And I was like, I didn't know lawyers could wear that.
Pants are optional.
It's just it's a very different vibe, because when you think of personal injury lawyer, again, you tend to think of like the guy, the hammer on the billboard.
Don't get me started.
And so y'all have intentionally kind of done a different model, a different culture, a different philosophy. Can you just unpack and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it is all intentional, and it just so happens to be compatible with our personalities. Like, we're all just laid back people for the most part until we're in like a dogfight, and then it goes to a different level. But we wanted our firm to be a place where you could walk in and it feels more like you're walking into a living room than like a lobby or like something cold.
Yeah.
Because it's really important that we earn your trust, right? We want you to be comfortable with us and be honest with us, and so you've got to be able to trust us. And so we dress like our clients. We just are normal people. We happen to be really good lawyers, but you don't have to wear a suit and tie. A suit and tie is just, it's an intimidation thing. It's like, you need to hire me because I'm so fancy and awesome, and look at my expensive suit or nice outfit. It's like, no. Like, I'm judging, we judge our lawyers based on their work product and their work ethic, how well they treat their clients, how well they treat their colleagues. I don't judge people on what they're wearing or what they look like. It's just, that doesn't move the needle at all for us. So yeah, it's, it's kind of like walking in here. It's candles are going, lamps are on, it's warm, it's comfortable, and you can just kind of cozy up here and tell your story.
Can you talk about like what was it like going from I am a lawyer to now I have this business and I have a team and I'm trying to scale it, and I'm trying to they don't, like, I'm assuming in law school they teach you how to do law. They don't teach you how to look at a P&L and to get health insurance, and how do you hire someone, how do you fire someone, how do you market, how do you do social media, can you walk me through just sort of like that sort of transition, and maybe specifically like things you learned the hard way or mistakes you made along the way?
Oh man, how much time do we have?
we got as much time as we want.
Mistakes. How many mistakes did I make this week? I think I told Sage, your producer, she said she was troubleshooting something this morning. I'm like, yeah, my whole life is troubleshooting. I feel like, we've made mistakes along the way, but that's the fun part. Like, when we make mistakes, it's so cool, because it's like, oh, now we've learned from that, and we can fix it, and we're now way better for it. I think, was it Good to Great, that book that talks about this? There's this word, a Japanese word called kaizen, and it's like being in a continual state of trying new things and improving. I really believe in that. But yeah, so going back to your first question, just transitioning from being a lawyer all day to being a business owner, I think, the story that I remember was when we were starting out, Tennessee and I were busy working on some case, and it was a lot of depositions and just stuff, a lot of paperwork, a lot of discovery. And he and I had this conversation about, like, what's the best use of my time? And we realized that being in those trenches, it's good every now and then, but I need to take a step back, and I need to like look at this whole thing from a higher level. What's our marketing plan? What are the finances, the cash flow, like all of it, hiring, firing, what markets do we need to be in? Like, I need to spend a lot of time thinking strategically, and you can't do that if your head is down all the time.
If you're in the weeds, it's so hard to do that.
Yeah. And so, now, fast forward 10 years, that was obviously a great decision for us, because now Tennessee, even he has kind of zoomed out a little bit. He oversees the whole litigation department. does all the training kind of over.
So y'all collectively made the decision, Travis, you're better suited.
Yeah, you need to be
growing the business.
Yeah.
Getting business, leading.
Yeah. Being, out in the community, the face of the firm kind of stuff, the marketing, the social media, all that kind of stuff that you can't delegate, right?
So that's a couple just anecdotes to that. One, I think having other people on the team that understand that and appreciate that is kind of rare. I've had partners and been a part of businesses in the past where there's not the expectation is everyone's doing all the things all at once.
Yeah, that's tough.
And one, I think having someone that kind of sees your value in that is a really neat thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of buy-in with that vision, and because like my management style is very extremely hands off.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like I take a lot of pride in hiring good people, so I spend a lot of time on that decision, especially with the lawyers. But once you're in,
like how long do you take to hire someone?
I mean, if it's a staff person and it's like a critical thing, like we're gonna jump on it and someone will be in that seat by the end of the week. If it's a lawyer, it's a lot different. It's a slow process because it's so important that they fit into our culture. I mean, I'd rather have
how many interviews do you think you do or conversations do you have?
A lot.
Like more than
probably 3 to 5.
Okay, that is a lot, yeah.
And they're not all interviews in the traditional sense, like with a conference room. It's I want to see you at dinner. I want to see you at a lunch. I want to see you at a social event. And so there's kind of this process to kind of see how they really are. We had one where we had a candidate that we liked, but we got pretty deep into that, and then at a social event made some mistakes. It's like, okay, this is a big red flag, and we moved on. But we bring in really good people, and then at that point I tell them my job from here on out is to put you in a position to be successful, so you can grow, and all the lawyers have skin in the game of some sort at the firm, which is nice. But then I don't tell them how to do their work. I mean, they're supervised.
Here's the vision. Here's what needs to happen, but you don't get into the how.
No. Here's our philosophy on how we litigate cases. Here's how we take care of people. But then it's at least I'm pretty hands off at that point.
Yeah.
And then Tennessee, or if it's people in the pre-lit department, I mean, they're obviously supervised and managed of some sort. But yeah, we just have really good lawyers. I don't know how else to.
So y'all kind of made that decision. Hey, Travis, you need to focus more on this. So one of the things I see a lot, just personally, I'm guilty of this, and even entrepreneurs I work with, they may have that epiphany, they may have that realization, but getting there and doing it is another thing. Is easier said than done.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Were there some like intentional, in the same way we're talking about like getting a dumb phone and putting safeguards there? Were there like things you did to kind of safeguard your time, or like?
I've always struggled with time management. People talk about work-life balance, and I kind of just laugh because, I still don't really know exactly what that is. I mean, and maybe just, I work with my wife, and so we're always talking about work and life at the same time, and it's all just kind of this blur at this point. But yeah, I mean, I've obviously learned to say no to things. I think that's the biggest. One of the biggest kind of moves I've made is whether that's a new case to work on, or just a new opportunity, or a trip, or a speaking engagement, or a CLE, or whatever, or even going to lunch. Like I say no to more of that stuff just because your time is so valuable. And because the one thing I won't say no to is my kids, right? If they got something going on, a game, or just spending quality time with the kids. I mean, they're only little for a very short amount of time, as we all know. And so I don't compromise that, but you just kind of learn stuff along the way.
And were there any things that you feel like you did? I mean, because obviously like y'all are successful, 3 locations, 3 different cities, got a pretty big team.
Yeah,
some of the largest cases. Were there any things like that you set up or did from a marketing standpoint, or did from a structures or organizational leadership perspective that helped you scale to where you're at?
So there wasn't like a marketing campaign or anything that like took us to that next level. It was our clients, I think. you think about personal injury case, right? There's pretty low expectations. People think they're going to get screwed by their lawyer, like all this kind of stuff. But when you really take care of a person, which is what we do, like we're very committed to just that client service and like honesty and integrity and all those buzzwords. Like we actually practice that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're brutally honest with people.
What do you give me an example of what you mean by that?
Hey, this is, the case just took a left turn and we need to reevaluate things like today, or some discovery came back and it's not good and we need to talk about it. Like,
you're not overpromising them.
No,
we're going to make you millions of dollars.
No, that's a terrible way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But so, we take really good care of our clients. And so I realized that really early on, like, so there's this thing here already with some clients, and they found out about this firm through a referral, and then they are leaving and they're telling their friends about it. Like there's something special here. And so I really doubled down on that. Let's make sure the client experience is amazing. And then let's make sure that those people are telling the world about our services. And so our biggest source of business is our clients. And that's a great place to be.
Word of mouth referrals.
Yeah, from your clients. And so
which is why y'all are different than kind of the folks that spend so much money on the advertising and the.
Yeah. We don't need to do all those things. And I'd rather have a client that was referred to me by a former client or by someone who knows us than a client who's just completely random. I mean, we obviously have clients like that too, but the best clients are the ones that were referred to you because they trust you out of the gate. And trust is really important during this process because you want your clients telling you everything.
So you're saying that your sort of secret, the best thing you've ever done is really investing in training your team to take care of people really well.
Yeah, because then the marketing takes care of itself from that point.
Mm-hmm.
I call it, the way I describe it to my team is we're going to market this place from the inside out. Mm-hmm. We're going to spend more time thinking about our current clients than our prospective clients and the clients that we don't have, because they will take care of those clients for us. So that was a huge kind of mindset for us early on. When I got there was zero market. I mean, there wasn't even a website when I got there, which is kind of amazing. And I kind of wish we didn't have to have a website and do SEO and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But just take care of people.
Yeah.
And shoot people straight and be real.
And then obviously, and then you hit the pavement, right? You go and you network and you talk to other lawyers and doctors and things like that. And you do what you got to do to get the word out. And now do Instagram videos with you or whatever. Whatever we're doing here today.
Can you talk a little bit about, so it's kind of, I'm going to jump ship and pivot here in a second, but can you maybe unpack or give me some examples of your sort of happiest, most proud day or moment, sort of, and then also maybe like the antithesis of that, like this is probably like the hardest, saddest, most frustrating day.
Oh man, yeah. If you do this kind of law, you're going to have big ups and big downs. The proudest moment, I mean, that's a tough one. There's so many good people that we've represented and gotten through, and you stay friends with them forever. And you're texting them on their birthday, and you really connect with people. You would have been a good personal injury lawyer, Jamey.
In another life.
It's not too late.
I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know if I ever told you that. I wanted to go to law school. That was like my backup plan.
I wanted to be a musician.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And we kind of switched.
Yeah. I studied philosophy in college.
Yeah.
And I was going to go to law school if the band didn't work out.
Okay.
I like law. I like contracts. I like arguing.
Okay. Well, hey, it's never too late. We have a spot for you.
I'm not good at school, though.
Oh, that's kind of a problem.
I'm good at school, but I hate the conformity of someone telling me to do something and grading me.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I like learning. I like reading a lot, but if you tell me to write something, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm naturally a nonconformist, so school is a little.
Right, that's tricky.
Difficult for me. Anyways, going back to your kind of the highs and lows, like
I worked on a case for 5 years that.
Holy cow.
Was wild. Big defendants, big players, a lot of lawyers. I mean, thankfully the depositions were on Zoom. We took 50 depositions probably.
Whoa.
Which is a lot. And so back in the day, if you had to travel to all those, just imagine what that would cost and all that time away from your family. And that would have been hard. We did almost all these depositions on Zoom. Tragic case, but just the family was just amazing. The clients were amazing. They lost their husband and father in a tragic car accident, and I would go over there and visit the family a lot and sit down with them, because you have to learn everything about this person, and you've never met them because they've passed away. And just the more they talked about him, the more I was like, this is like the nicest, best guy ever, like best dad and husband, and like I want to be like this guy. It just made me a better lawyer and a better father and all this kind of stuff. Because I would sit there for hours. I'm like, okay, that's all awesome, but you've got to tell me like the bad stuff, because it's going to come out. Like, and there wasn't any bad stuff. And so representing that family, and that's one where I definitely got into the weeds. Like I was heavily invested in that case.
Yeah,
I took a lot of the depositions, and of course Tennessee did a lot of that too. But getting that family to the other side, where those kids are taken care of for the rest of their life, was a huge kind of moment in our careers. And so, but yeah, there's been a lot of stuff like that.
That was a moment where you're like, this was worth it.
Yeah.
We've
done, yeah, we did it. And, the case didn't go to trial. It ultimately got settled.
After 5 years?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
They typically don't take 5 years. Some of them do. Most cases are less than that, but there's been sad ones. The one that comes to mind was a sweet Fort Worth family. They lost a baby, a young, just very, very young, a few weeks old. And there were some issues, and there was an argument for medical malpractice. And that's when I learned kind of what the medical malpractice world looks like in Texas, and it's pretty tough. It's really harsh.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, man. I mean, so we cap damages in the medical malpractice world, so non-economic damages. It's just a terrible setup right now. So if a
doctors and hospitals are really protected.
Oh yeah,
more so than the patient.
If you go in for a surgery,
yeah,
and let's just say there's a clear case of medical malpractice, doctor just does the wrong thing and you die in surgery. Okay, and your wife brings a lawsuit saying, "Hey doc, this doc just killed my husband. It's medical malpractice. Didn't intend to do it, right? It's not murder, but did something really unreasonable in the surgery, and you passed away." Her damages were capped at $250,000. That's the value of your life.
Whoa.
And so you file that lawsuit. It's not like the hospital or the doctor is just going to say, "Hey, all right, we want to settle for $250,000. They're going to say, "Well, $250,000 is your best day in court. Trial's not going to be for 2 or 3 more years. You have to hire all these experts, because you have to have all these like Chapter 74 expert reports and all this stuff. So it's going to be really expensive for Melissa's lawyer to bring that case. And so they're going to, settle with you for pennies on the dollar. And it's just a terrible setup. So when I got a glimpse of the medical malpractice stuff, that was a hard time for us.
Where you're like, why am I doing this? This feels like a beatdown.
When just talking to these people about what happened to their child, and there's just no options.
And you feel like the good guy is losing.
Yeah, totally. In that scenario, it's a very unfair setup, and I hate stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing those. All right, so I wanted to pivot a little bit. I printed this out. This is a copy of my auto insurance coverage.
Okay, let's go.
Because I've heard you talk about auto insurance, and you're like, most people don't have enough coverage, but I don't really know what that means.
Right.
So I was hoping you could interpret. I don't really know what coverage I have.
My agent said I was fully covered. I'm like, no.
Okay, so one, can you tell me what I have and if it's good or bad? And and also like, what do you think people should have?
I'm gonna give you like a B minus.
Okay.
Okay, so
I mean, it's not terrible.
All right, so yeah, people should do this, right? Like, get out. Don't do it if you're driving right now, but if you're if you're listening to this while you're gardening or cleaning the kitchen or something, look at your policy. What insurance company do you use?
Progressive.
Progressive. Okay, so there's probably an app for this stuff too now, even though you look on the computer. But yeah, okay. So Jamey, for his 2018 Lexus, is that your car?
Yeah. Actually,
right.
I don't think that's the right car. I wonder if I'd have an old car insured.
That's also a problem. Make sure the car you're driving is insured.
Yeah.
Which is, I joke about that, but twice in the last 10 years, I have been without coverage unknowingly for a few days.
I need to look at that because I think we sold that car and we have a newer one.
Or I have an umbrella policy and my insurance company let it lapse and they didn't renew it. And so I make it a habit once a month. I go in and make sure all the coverages are still there.
Yeah.
Okay, but you have $250,500. So we call it $250,500 for liability.
Okay.
All right. So that's a good start. So if Jamey hits you in a car accident, call me because he's got some pretty good insurance coverage.
Okay.
So Jamey's not going to hit anybody with his car. But then Jamey, here's the problem.
So
you're
is that the number you would want? 250 to
500, but that's liability insurance. Okay. So if you, let's say you got in a car accident.
Yeah.
That's not the part of the policy that we are going to be able to use.
Yeah.
That's the policy that's going to pay if you
someone else.
Right?
That's my sue protection.
That's your sue protection. Sure.
Is that the right word?
Hey, let's go.
Okay.
But you only have $50,000 underinsured motorist coverage. So you are, what I call this is you're insuring the traveling public for more than you're insuring your own family. It's like you don't love your wife and
meaning
kids
an uninsured motorist hits me and my insurance company will only pay up to $50,000, which might not even doesn't even cover a new car.
An uninsured person or an underinsured person. So if there's a bad car accident, yes, and the other person has state minimums are only $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't even have that. Some people are driving around without any car insurance. And so if that person hits you, more likely it's going to be somebody with $30,000.
I've actually been hit twice by uninsured motorists.
And you've called me 0 times.
Well, this was in high school. So
okay.
This was like 20 years ago.
Okay.
The other day, one of my daughters was like, "Have you been in a wreck?" And I'm like, "I've been in 8 or 9 wrecks."
Are you serious?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of wrecks.
It's probably all that traveling with the band, and you guys are probably
and I'm distracted in nature in my head, by nature in my head. I got hit literally in high school 2 different times. Uninsured motorists hit me, not like we had a collision. Like they literally.
So this is like.
So that's way too little. 50K is not enough.
Do you follow me on social media?
I do, but you talk about it.
Do you hear the words that come out of my mouth?
Yeah, but I don't remember the specifics. My brain doesn't know. Like that's why here I'm sitting down. I have my pen and paper.
Okay.
How much should I have for that?
You should have at least as much as you have in liability insurance.
Okay.
So let's call your agent right now. Say Jamey needs $250,500 UIM insurance.
Okay.
We always start with UIM insurance.
So that's the most important thing you think you need.
Yeah, as much UIM insurance as you can afford, and it's not that expensive.
I'm assuming the jump in price is like
it's like $15 a month.
Oh, okay.
For this, what I'm talking about here, it's cheap.
But you deal with people a lot who get hit by someone that doesn't have enough insurance or doesn't have.
Yes.
That's why they hire you.
Well, that's one of the reasons. But it's crazy what we'll see. We have a client recently, a sweet lady, older lady, she's like in her 80s. She's had the same insurance agent for like 40 years.
Yeah.
For 40 years, she's been paying premiums, And we look at her policy, and it was like $500,000 in liability insurance, and
her sue protection,
and 0 in UIM insurance.
0?
Yeah.
Whoa. It's
like, what are we doing here? Like that agent should lose his license if you're selling coverages without UIM insurance. So yeah, you need to increase your UIM insurance like before you leave the office today, Jamey.
Okay.
The other thing too, your personal injury protection, that's a really good part of your policy. You need to increase that to $10,000.
Personal injury. What is mine?
$2,500, which is pretty standard. But that'll pay like out of pockets. That'll help pay lost wages, things like that.
You said increase it to what?
10,000 is pretty standard.
And so mine is a fourth of that.
Yeah, 25%. Your other cars have the same coverage. Your 2022.
And do you
Ford.
need to get like health liability stuff too? Because I'm always like, I got health insurance. Do I need that other stuff?
Health insurance. Yes, you need auto insurance even if you have health insurance.
Well, no. Meaning, isn't there a thing on there that's like
medical payments?
Yeah, medical payments. That's what.
Yeah, you don't need medical payments coverage because that's subrogable. Okay, don't worry about know what that word is. But they'll cover some stuff. But then if there's a settlement, that money goes back, and so you don't get to keep it. So we recommend personal injury protection versus medical payments coverage.
And you would say $10K on personal injury protection.
Yeah, that's a good start. But the other important thing besides UIM insurance is an umbrella policy. Okay, so that's the next question you should ask your insurance agent. How much would it cost to get an umbrella policy? And here's the important part, that also covers UIM. Okay, a lot of people just get a liability umbrella, sue protection as you call it. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's not going to protect you from getting sued, by the way. Mm-hmm. It's going to protect you from having money coming out of your pocket if and when you get sued. There's nothing to protect you from actually getting sued in these situations. But having that umbrella with it's called a UIM rider on it. So say, get a quote for $1 million liability umbrella with $1 million UIM rider. It's also pretty cheap. I mean, we're talking about a couple $100 maybe for the year.
Oh, wow.
Because that policy
and that's
doesn't
like
pay out
a
very
personal
often.
Umbrella policy.
Yeah.
I think I have like umbrella policies for my companies, I would assume. Probably.
You probably shouldn't advertise that, but
okay.
No, you need a personal umbrella. Yeah,
a personal umbrella. Mm-hmm. Is that something normal people have?
Yeah, normal. Yeah.
Okay.
It helps you sleep at night.
And so you would get an umbrella policy that also covers UIM for at least $1 million. Mm-hmm. And that like covers you and your wife and your kids.
Yeah. Ask your agent how much it costs and let me know.
Okay.
And let's put it in the show notes.
Okay.
Like Jamey did this and it's
I'm literally going to go do this afterwards. I've heard you talk about this a lot and I'm like, I need to look at it, but then I always forget.
Yeah, Ryan Dukes did this the other day. He'd call me. He's like, hey, what's that stuff you're always talking about? Because I'm finally going to look at it too. I'm like, God, these are like my best buddies, and they're not listening.
But the thing is, like, I don't really know what this. I'm just like, give me whatever is the right coverage to give.
Yeah.
And I just normally go with whatever that is.
I mean, yours isn't terrible.
Yeah. I would assume it's not terrible.
But 50 UIM is not nearly enough.
Okay. Are there any other, kind of while we're on the subject, are there any other like just practical things that families or people should do? I think like people should do this and it drives me crazy they don't do this. Doesn't necessarily be in insurance, but from a personal injury lawyer perspective, all the crazy stuff you've seen. Do you have any other soapboxes?
I mean, I think one of my soapboxes is like, stop thinking that this cannot happen to you. Like, just put that aside for a second. And now let's think, okay, let's go through that thought exercise. If this happened to me tomorrow, like, do I really know what to do if I'm in that situation? And come up with that game plan. Mm-hmm. That's something that we're putting out there is your actual checklist, your game plan. If and when this thing happens to you, here are the exact steps you need to go through.
You're getting an accident. Here's what you need to do.
Yeah. And it's not just, call a lawyer today for a free evaluation. It's not that. It's here are the real things you need to do. With the car seats, and this is how you go to the doctor, and this is where you go, and this is who you call, and this is who you don't call, and who you don't take a recorded statement. And here's why. So stuff that people don't think about.
You don't take a recorded statement. What does that mean?
Oh, insurance companies will swoop in. They have something called swoop and settle. So it's now illegal in Texas, but they still do it. In fact, when we teach at the law school, some of the law school students are former insurance adjusters, which is kind of interesting. And they talk about how it's still prevalent. Insurance companies literally like swoop in and try to get you to sign something. It's called swoop and settle. So then you go call a lawyer and you figure out, the stuff's hit the fan.
They make you give a statement of what happened? And
then, So in that process, they'll do, hey, can you take a recorded statement? And so they're going to record you, and you should never do a recorded statement if you don't have a lawyer, because they can trip you up, or you just, right in the immediate aftermath of a wreck, before the dust has settled, it's hard to know in some of these cases, like what exactly happened right away. Like sometimes you have to hire accident reconstructionists, or you have to go get surveillance cameras, or you have to go interview witnesses. Like, and so people's personal memories, once they've been jostled about in a car and their head hit the steering wheel, like they're not always the best historian of those facts.
Yeah.
And so to have to take a recorded statement right after a wreck, it's just problematic. But people don't know that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of a practical thing, is just think about, do I know what I would do if I was in the situation?
Do you always call the police?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's one thing, like my parents told me, like, if you get in a wreck, call the police. You want the police to...
Yeah, you want to err on the side of caution. Mm-hmm. And the other big thing, too, is don't get out of your vehicle unless you are like darn sure that it's okay to get out of your vehicle, right? Like if there's a lot of traffic around, because that's the other, like people don't realize this, but people, a small accident can turn into a big accident. We call them secondary accidents in the industry, but people get out and then they get hit by a car, and that's bad.
That
obviously
happens often.
I wouldn't say often, but yeah, we see it.
Yeah.
These secondary accidents, and so that's the other kind of practical thing is if something like that happens, like stay in your vehicle unless you are darn sure it's okay to get out, right? And then there's other kind of things you can do. Call 911, take pictures. Go to the hospital. I mean, go get checked out. Because that's the other kind of thing that happens is people are so, like, jacked up on adrenaline, when they have been through something like this, that it kind of can cover up the fact that something's hurting.
Yeah.
Or they just want to get the hell out of there and go home. But you need to get checked out right away if you're in something like that.
Okay, that's good. I don't know that I've ever gotten
checked out.
after.
That's good. Mark that clip. I'm going to cut that clip and put it on my social media.
Yeah, I don't know that I probably should have. I've gotten hurt a couple times.
Eight wrecks. That might be a record. I don't know if
I've
I know
been in a lot of
anybody.
wrecks.
Sometimes you in our business you do have recurring clients,
Yeah.
But then eventually it's like, okay, we can't do this 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. It's been a while. I haven't done it in a while.
8's a lot.
But
Like,
yeah.
Did you cause 8 of them? All 8 of them?
No,
50-50?
some of them were not all my fault.
I see why you have so much liability insurance.
Yeah, I drove I totaled our van one time. We have this song called "Goodbye LA," and it's about
Just piecing out of.
we got stuck in California because I drove our van into a yellow pole
Okay.
at 2 a.m.
Of course.
A couple times in the music world, I would be like listening to music really loud and really into it. And making some mistakes.
This is like 19-year-old Jamey.
It's like 22 or 23-year-old Jamey.
Does Melissa know about all
yeah.
this?
Yeah, she was in the car at that time. We were like stuck in LA because our van was totaled and we were on tour and we couldn't. And then I've done some. I drove we won't go into that.
No, I think the people need to know that Jamey should not drive your kids around. Like don't let Jamey do the carpool.
I haven't been since kids. I don't think I haven't had a wreck in a long time.
That's good.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Are there? What do you do? So you juggle a lot. You're also teaching. You're teaching at A&M, Fort Worth, which is what do you like? What class are you teaching there?
I'm not an Aggie, by the way.
Yeah,
People.
You're a diehard Longhorn.
Yeah, but I do teach at A&M. It's the local law school, and it's an awesome law school. In fact, they just had the highest bar passage rate of any law school in the state of Texas, which is really cool.
Wow.
That's just a very pragmatic kind of education over there. And so we teach personal injury.
Okay, you're teaching a class on the guy that
personal
wrote
injury
the class.
101.
Uh-huh.
And I do that with Tennessee, of course.
And is that fun?
It's a blast. And we do that in the fall, and we go it's about every other Friday. It's just a 1-hour class.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go and just do 2 hours, and there's 6 classes, 6 sessions. And we have about 20 kids, and it's just a blast because you just take everything that you've learned doing this and you're just passing it on. It's not a money thing. They don't pay us very much to do it. It's just so much fun.
It's fun, and you get to pass it on. And I'm assuming they didn't have that when you went to law school.
No, most law schools don't have personal injury classes. But we pitched it to the law school saying, hey, a lot of your law students are going to do some personal injury throughout their career. They're either going to hang their shingle or going to go work for a shop like ours, or they're going to go do insurance defense work, which is the other side of our docket. And so they need to start learning some of this stuff. And even if they don't do personal injury, it's going to be useful education for them.
So one of my questions is, how do you? I want to get more into personal habits, you juggle a lot. You're managing a team. You're still occasionally will get into the weeds of a case.
Oh yeah.
You got a family. You got a podcast. You're speaking to schools. What are some of the things that you do to stay grounded, to stay healthy, to bring in a little bit of balance? Because it's hard to do that many things, and it's hard to lead people if you're not personally healthy. And healthy meaning not just
jacked,
but just mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally,
all that stuff. Faith is important to me. It always has been. lean into that a lot. Try to read my Bible. Ryan Dukes challenged me to read the entire Bible, and so I forgot who brought that up, but we're in the middle of doing that.
Like in the morning, at night?
Yeah, like in a perfect day. You wake up early, get your workout done, get your Bible read. And perfect days are hard to come by these days, but we do our best. But, I spend a lot of time with my children and my wife, and I think that's a huge part of it. I mean, that's a big source of my energy and my happiness and my joy is those 5 people. We live out in the country, and so it's just us out there. We don't get out much, which is how we like it. It's just peaceful. So there's that, and then just little habits. Obviously, trying to get out, walk. Our office is not too far from here, right by the over by Lily B. So that's a really beautiful neighborhood, and so I'll get out and I'll walk throughout the neighborhood. Just if I'm on a call or just need a break in the day, just get outside, stuff like that. And my wife and I have been on this. I guess it's just being buddies with Taylor. You kind of start thinking about your food and your environment and toxins and all that kind of stuff. And so we're pretty intentional about stuff like that too, which has helped. Trying to keep up with you, doing tonal workouts, and
yeah, we both bonded over having a tonal gym in our house.
Yeah, it's so funny that you're the only other person I know that has a tonal.
Dude, they're so awesome.
LeBron James, Jamey Ice, and me.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. So it sounds like a big part of that is prioritizing family, taking it slow, and y'all kind of have this space with some acreage where you can unplug from the city and the hustle and bustle.
Yeah, we're not big hustle and bustle people. At least not anymore. We just don't bother ourselves with that kind of stuff. It's just not important to us.
Dude, I love that. Me and Melissa have been talking a lot about that because I feel like we are always in a constant state of hustle and bustle. Were there any books or resources or podcasts or things that you read or learned along the way that were really influential to you?
Yeah. I mean, the Stories with Soul podcast has been
changed your life.
I think my favorite business book is Good to Great. I love that book.
Jim Collins.
Yeah. There's a couple nuggets in there that I use all the time.
Can you rattle some of those off?
The one where it's about what to do with, how to decide if it's time to let somebody go. Like that, the way he thinks about that is really important. And just hiring people and firing people. Like hiring people, he talks about it's not, is this the best person for this particular job opening? Is this a good person for your team? Does this person fit on your bus?
Yeah.
You can figure out where they sit on the bus later, and the seats on the bus change, and that's completely true. Like we've moved people around. You kind of play, mix and match until you get it right. But then if it's time to let someone go, which of course is, the worst part of owning a company, as you know, and
it's the worst.
Everybody knows it's the worst. But he says, look, if you take no action, it's really unfair to the other people in your organization who are having to pull the extra weight or to deal with this person. And so here's the idea is if that person came to you today and it's like, hey, I'm quitting, I'm moving on, would you be relieved or would you be sad? And it's like, what are we going to do? If you would be relieved.
That's a good sort of litmus test.
That's it. And if you
it's hard because there's so many emotions involved. Like it's so sad because you're like, I care about this person. I care about their well-being.
Yeah, but he talks about that too. And it's like if you care about that person, sometimes the best thing to do for that person is to let them go.
Yeah.
And do it in the right way and still be a blessing to them. Let them land on their feet, get them introduced to other people, let them move on to that next chapter in their life. Because something isn't just, something's not working out in the present moment. And so if you think of it in terms of that way, like can this experience be a good opportunity for this person? Obviously it's going to help the organization and you're going to move on. But can you figure out a way to make this a blessing to the other person?
Yeah.
I mean, it still sucks. I mean, it's still tough.
Yeah,
but
it still always sucks.
But that was a good book. Podcasts, I bounce around.
But Good to Great is a good one. And that's it, man. That's such a good one. I feel like so many of my mistakes in business have been from not hiring slow and not firing fast. Like literally some of my biggest mistakes.
Hiring too fast.
Like what you talked about, you really
firing
take your
too slow.
time. And, and then I get someone, I'm like, I know this is not the right person for this seat, but you have all these emotions tied up in it, and I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to deal with the chaos that ensues, and it just causes damage.
Yeah.
So I think that's great advice.
I mean, it's, we're both very fortunate because if you have good people and you have a good business and everyone's bought into it and they like what they're doing and they're fulfilled on stuff, turnover is not something you have to deal with very often.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't imagine having a business where you're constantly turning people over.
Yeah.
That would be a nightmare.
Yeah. What advice would you give your younger self?
That's a good one. How young are we talking about? Like fresh out of law school?
Yeah, law school equivalent, or like, starting this thing up.
Just knowing that it's gonna be, you can love your job as a lawyer. Like I was introduced to a lot of lawyers early on. Like I said, I worked with thousands of them, and it's like they were good people. A lot of them were, not all of them, but I didn't see a lot of happy people. Like it's like they got the golden handcuffs and they were making a lot of money, but they didn't really seem fulfilled and like happy, and they weren't smiling a lot. And that was kind of depressing. It's like I just worked my tail off for college and law school, and now I'm here. And it's like, am I going to be here for 30 years, 40 years and not be happy? Mm-hmm. And the opposite is true. Like, I tell people in my office, everyone's on Fridays. Everyone's like always happy, like happy Friday. Mm-hmm. I tell people like, I love Mondays. Like Monday morning coming in the office is like my favorite moment of the week.
That's awesome.
Aside from time with, my kids and stuff, but I love it because it's like, it's a new week, like new challenges are coming, new things, new ideas are going to come our way. We're going to figure something out. We're going to meet a new client. We're going to get something done. It's just, it's just wide open. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I mean, and so just telling my young self, like, you're going to find a spot where you're very passionate about what you're doing. You're going to be helping people. You're going to be saving lives through your work as a lawyer, through your work as an advocate and a speaker and a teacher and all the cool things that we're getting to do. Mm-hmm. And it's going to make a difference. You're going to chip away at the problem. Man. At some problems. And you never know. I went to a conference, a CLE or something, and it was a really good plaintiff's lawyer who does truck accidents for a living. And he was like, look, if you do this the right way, you think about it. A trucking company has just done something. They have an unsafe culture, or they have fatigued drivers or something. And because of what you're doing on this particular case, like, they're going to learn their lesson. Mm-hmm. Like, you have just made the world safer, and you will never know the amount of lives you're going to save, but your work will save lives. And so that stuck with me. And it kind of came full circle after a distracted driving presentation. The head of one of these schools came up to me, really smart guy. And he's like, look, I don't know who, but the kids were into it, and you just saved someone's life, and you saved someone's conscience, someone who would have caused one of these accidents. I was like, I really appreciate that. Like, so now we got to keep going. We got to keep doing this. Mm-hmm. And I think he's right. Mm-hmm. I believe it in my heart. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I would tell my young self all of that.
That's all really. What my final question is always like, what does legacy mean to you? What does legacy look like? And you kind of were just talking about it and answering there. I mean, that my assumption is everything you're saying kind of plays into that idea of your legacy as a lawyer and as making a difference. Yeah. But I don't know if you want to expound upon that. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think that's it. But yeah, I want to be thought of as much more than a lawyer. I think it starts with, when I think of legacy, I think about my kids, and my grandkids and my great grandkids. Like, my wife and I always talk about this, but there's those families at the baseball games where there's a kid on your kid's team, and it's like both sets of grandparents are at every single game, and this kid's got 20 family members cheering on everything, and it's a multi-generational family, and they're doing life together how it was intended, right? We in society, we've kind of drifted away from that. So when I think of legacy, I think of it in terms of that way, like what Anna and I want to create, multi-generationally with our family. And then using what we're doing, these initiatives, the law firm, podcast, all that kind of stuff is just kind of a part of that. And being able to pass that on and whether the kids become lawyers or whatever it is that they want to do, but just staying a big part of their lives for a long time.
Family is at the core of all that.
Yeah.
Family's the reason. Do you foresee any of your 4 kiddos having that lawyer gene?
Yeah.
Is there one more? I'm assuming there's one more than others that kind of has that.
Yeah, they're all
little Travis
kids are
pushback.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of them pushes back a lot, which is fun. Yeah, I could see a couple of them being lawyers for sure. One of them is more into like building things, and his my wife's dad is an engineer, so that's cool. It's completely different than what I do, and he's kind of gravitated toward that. He's always building stuff with his grandpa and stuff like that, and wants to know how things work. But then I have other one who likes to read and question things, and we might have a little Travis on our hands.
Little Travis. I love it. Well, Travis, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Joining me, man.
This has been fun.
You can find your stuff at Patterson Law Group.
PattersonPersonalInjury.com.
PattersonPersonalInjury.com, and then Driving Change Podcast. Tune in, and if you have a kid in high school, call your school.
Let's do it.
Tell them Travis needs to come speak.
Completely free, and we will save some lives.
All right, and I'm gonna go call my insurance company, and I'll update the world on that.
This is good.
That's good. Well, thanks, man.
Don't get into a 9th wreck, please.
Hopefully not. Fingers crossed.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Congratulations, you made it to the end. Appreciate you listening. If you enjoy what you heard, if you enjoy these episodes, please subscribe and like and share wherever you listen to podcasts. When you do that, it goes a long way and helps us continue to produce great new content. This episode is brought to you by 6 Ave Storytelling, where we help businesses grow their brands through the power of storytelling. If you're an entrepreneur who is interested in learning more about that, please visit 6avestorytelling.com today.